We have two cooks in the kitchen today. Episode 6 featuring my brother, Dillon Cook. He's going to share some favorite stories of his and then tell us how artificial intelligence can improve the video game Madden. Stick around, this is going to be a fun conversation. Here we go! What's cooking, everyone? Welcome back to episode 6. We have another guest coming on the pod today, and it's our first cook to join us on the What's Cooking podcast. I'm hoping that I can bring on many more cooks in the future. There's certainly lots we could choose from, so we'll have to look into that once we go on. But for today, I have the great pleasure of introducing a man who graduated from Iowa a semester early. A man who works in the aerospace industry, but he prefers to stay on the ground. You better not bring your dirty ketchup lid anywhere near him. This is my brother, Dillon Cook.
Welcome. Glad to have you on.
Oh, yes. That's the first thing I was going to say is welcome, but he beat me to it. It's always a running joke that we're welcoming each other when the other person arrives. It's their obligation to welcome the other person as they arrive. So
I did get here before you today, just to be clear.
I'm going to deny that. I do vividly remember watching you drive and pull up into the driveway, but we can set that aside for now.
Agree to disagree.
It's my understanding that you got in a workout today. What was on the workout today? What were we focusing on?
So Saturday usually would be legs, but today it was arms.
Okay.
The schedule's getting thrown off a little with intramural flag football, so
yes,
didn't lift that day, so everything's kind of off now.
But I mean, if it's flag football, I mean,
yeah,
that'll take priority over the schedule, in my opinion. So
2-0,
2-0, and with a commanding victory in week 1, I heard.
Yeah, 110-0 week 1, 70-32 in week 2. So
my goodness, boys!
No competition so far.
Oh, devastating! I'll tell you what.
No subs either.
Wow,
7 guys showed up.
Wow, they are the Iron Men of 1939. They do not need subs. They play all positions.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, we're going to try to go chronological as always. We do have a lot on the menu today. We're going to see how far we can get through. If we ever need to cut it short, that's fine with me, but we're just going to start rolling here. Young Dillon was born in 1997, just a few years before Brandon came around into existence. You're on the edge of millennial and Gen Z, and that's always a big topic with our parents is the generational gap. They love to go into the whole, they're a Gen X and I'm a Gen Z, and you kind of fall right on the edge. So I think we'll probably claim you as Gen Z, is what most people say, but
I consider myself Gen Z.
Okay.
It's right on the border, but I'd rather be Gen Z than millennial. So that's what I go with.
All right. Take that, millennials. So
that's right.
So it's funny because we've lived in Cedar Rapids pretty much the whole time, but people will often forget that you were actually born in Illinois. And I'm curious to know, I think I remember you saying you have some vague memories of living in Illinois, and I'm curious to know if that's true or like what type of things do you remember from that time period?
If I said that, I was joking.
Okay.
No, we moved when I was like 8 months old, so
okay,
there's no chance.
I thought I remember you saying that at one point, but maybe you were just
I was definitely kidding.
I was impressed, though. So.
That would be very impressive.
All right, that's cleared up now. So we moved to Cedar Rapids, family did, before I was born, probably fall of 98, and then young Brandon came around shortly after. And then when I was first brought home to the family, and I was introduced and we were having a good time, do you remember what you were telling our parents to do shortly after?
Yeah, I read it on there. I know. Send him back.
Send him back.
Yep.
Could you imagine?
Try to get a better one.
Oh my God. Wherever you got this thing from, I want you to take it back and I want you to exchange it out, man. This is not working.
They didn't listen though. Here we are.
23 years later, they did not send me back. They kept me around, thankfully. But that was my introduction to the family, and I learned to figure it out as I went. So young Dillon started getting into Legos at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
I was more of a Hot Wheels kid. I don't think I ever got big into Legos, but you were always building things. You always had a plan. You always had a scheme ready to go. Do you remember first getting into Legos and like what was the main thing that convinced you? Like what was the big enjoyments for you there?
I think I got Legos for like my second or third birthday, something really young. So I think they were more given to me rather than me going out and asking for them. But yeah, once I had them, I mean, Legos are a great time, especially back then before, technology got great.
Yeah.
iPads weren't around when we were that young. So, I mean, Legos were the best option. Just loved them.
They were great, yeah. I remember a lot of different creations, a lot of different... the little board where you would have like the matchup of the week and like who's playing against who, and we'd always have it by the TV, and
that was fun.
Just something to look forward to. We do have a lot of differences between me and you, but I think one of the things that we agree on most is that the GameCube is one of the superior gaming consoles of all time, if not the greatest.
The greatest.
The greatest, yes. So obviously, you can't have me and Dillon together without talking about some GameCube and some Madden 2008. One of the main things we both enjoy about Madden 2008 is probably the roster that they had that year, especially for me with 99 overall LaDainian Tomlinson. But the Vikings had a rookie AP. They had Greenway in his prime. You look around the league, you have Tom Brady with Randy Moss that year. You have Peyton Manning, Dallas Clark combinations, pretty deadly. Jared Lorenzen, obviously one of my favorites on the Giants, the hefty lefty himself. So when we start talking about Madden 08, what's like the first time? I think you said you got it for your birthday one year, right?
10th birthday, yeah,
Ooh,
2007.
Baby. So did you ever think at the time, I'm guessing not, but like how transcendent that game would have been going forward?
No, certainly not. There was no way of knowing at the time that would be the last Madden to come out for the GameCube.
Yeah, true.
So I think just kind of that scenario made it so great. If they came out with Madden 09 for the GameCube, we'd probably be talking about that one right now.
I would agree.
But yeah, I remember playing it before school that day and seeing the new roster. And yeah, it was just awesome from day one.
And unfortunately, they haven't been able to really top the Madden 08 experience that we had back then. And some of the reasons I give for the fall off of Madden, in my opinion, is the only solely focusing on online functionalities. We've abandoned the offline experience, in my opinion. We've added some in-game purchases that have made things dicey and pay to win. Not a fan of that. And it's my understanding that you've come equipped to this episode with some ideas that Madden developers, if you're listening, you should very much consider. And we're going to give you the floor here, and we're going to let you maybe pitch some ideas for the crowd.
Yeah, well, with the online thing, I mean, 08, there was no online. So everything had to be completely offline like that. So, I see how things have transitioned more to online, and a lot of the in-app purchases are kind of what they hone in on.
Yep.
You can get more money from people after they already bought the game, which it's kind of a quick win, but at what cost? I think if you work on making the actual game better, I think that could pay off more in the long term. That's my speculation. I haven't looked at the actual numbers that they have, but that's just my thought. It would make the quality of the game better.
Agreed.
But yeah, I have a list here. 9 things. We can run through them quick.
Let's do it, man.
Some of these are going to be really hard to implement. Some of them are just free. You could do it tomorrow if you wanted to.
And that's what we're all about, so let's hear it.
All right, number 1. Bring back rushing attack and mini games.
Come on,
This
guys.
is just the easiest one ever. In Madden 08, in the settings, you can go just play rushing attack, straight up. It's all running plays. You just have a running back, and then there's anywhere from 2 to 4 defenders. And you get 1 minute on offense, 1 minute on defense, and you just play, and it's a lot of fun. Current Maddens, I haven't played the latest ones, but the ones that I did play, like 14, 15, 16, you couldn't even do that if you wanted to. Like, there's nowhere you can go to play it. I'm sure in some game mode, like, at some point there is a rushing attack type of thing.
Yeah.
They just don't let you do it on your own.
No.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
So I think stuff like that should just be out in the open for anyone to play. Number 2, make everything customizable. We had a lot of fun with, like, you would create players.
Oh, of
create
course.
Teams and playbooks and stadiums. Like, you just create whatever you felt like. It was kind of your Legos. You know, you just build whatever you wanted to.
Absolutely.
That didn't exist as much in the later Maddens.
No.
Stuff like that just wasn't there for some reason. So I think it should be easy to say, all right, what would happen if we put Joe Montana on the 0-16 Lions and just see what happens, you know? I think you should be able to move around pieces and just do whatever you want, basically.
Yeah, I created the entire Kennedy 2015 sophomore football team that I was a part of and tried to make the stats and players realistic as possible. I think I got it pretty well dialed up. I think it's still on my memory card to this day, so we might have to dig that up at some point, but completely agree. The customization has gone out the door.
Yep. So that would be a helpful one. Those two were pretty easy to do. This one's a little tougher. So there's an AI called Dolly 2 where you just type something in and it'll create a photo of whatever you typed.
Ooh.
So you could type something that doesn't exist. Like you could say chicken walking on purple water and it'll create a picture of a chicken walking on purple water.
Wow.
You know, it's not like Google where there already are a bunch of pictures and you're just searching for the right one. This AI will just create a picture for you of whatever you typed. So I think Madden could do a similar thing where you type either a team or a player, a mascot, whatever, and it'll kind of just create it for you. Like in 08, you could say, I want a team of exclusively kickers who always line up in a field goal formation, and that's all they do. And that actually was a team.
I think Madden 12 PS2 type of 12. Years they had that, yeah.
Okay, so that should be possible. I think that'd be a cool thing. You type in, I want a coach who's, 6'8", he always blitzes, and, he always wears a visor. Something like that, I think that's possible with AI.
Oh, man, I can't wait.
It's just, it's not realistic, but it's fun. It'd be fun to
It
mess
would,
around
it
with.
really would.
All right, next one. This is also pretty tough, but deep fake audio for commentators. There's this AI where if you have enough audio of someone's voice, you can type in text and it'll create audio that sounds like that person saying.
I've heard that, yeah.
I've heard this with Obama. They'll make it sound like Obama is saying something really silly when he never really said it, but it sounds exactly like him, and it's his voice.
So Twitch streamers, how like when you donate, you can like send a message with your like subscription or whatever.
Okay.
And it like translates it into text. There's a SpongeBob streamer I watch that has one for Trump. So when you donate, you can send a message and it sounds like Trump.
Yeah.
He has like Eminem, Kanye West, and like a bunch of other ones. Mm-hmm. Absolutely hilarious. I completely, fully support that too.
Yeah, so that's good on a couple things. You could have like Tom Brady commentate a game or whatever.
Ooh.
The next way that's helpful is you could take out just the basic things that they always say, like, oh, he's at the 20, 10, touchdown, just the basic stuff you always hear. You could have a totally new comment based on the game because, people in Madden do crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You could throw 6 laterals and then chuck the ball downfield or something weird. You could have the commentators actually talk about it. Like you could say, oh, this created player with a name that didn't exist in Madden previously pitches the ball 7 yards back and then he chucks it downfield. So you could have like an actual new comment that they don't have to record ahead of time. So I think it would just kind of make it feel more real.
Absolutely. Outstanding idea.
Tough to implement, but it would be a nice one.
Start working on it. I mean, if it's 3 years down the line, still worth it in my opinion.
All right, so this one is also pretty tough. It's I don't know where the technology is at with this one, but if you think about like the Rams or the Raiders, they create new stadiums. They build them in real life. So Madden has to make that stadium in the game,
yep.
Right? I wonder how long that process takes. Like, I'm sure they go to the stadium, they take a bunch of pictures. I think if we could shrink the timeline down as far as how long it takes to get a stadium in the game, if you had like a 360-degree camera and you just walk it around a stadium, you could go all over the place. You could go to high schools. You could go to Kingston Stadium, take a half hour, walk a camera around. You take all those images, you map it to the actual game, and you can play an NFL game in Madden at Kingston. Or you could go to wherever, just any football field. Keep adding more and more to the game. For NCAA, this would help especially, because we used to play the game where you start out as a high school senior, you play the year, and it's always at this super generic high school stadium, and then you play your state championship at Kinnick, when in reality it's at UNI, just because UNI is not in the game. So it would be really helpful if you could add stadiums a lot quicker.
And do you think that would be on like the game developers end, that they would go do that, or could you have like the users themselves go capture that and upload it as like as a player? Or
that would be great. That would make a lot of sense if you could crowdsource it in that way. I don't know, like what technology would be needed for that.
You'd have to have
a certain type of camera, something. But yeah, I mean, if you eventually, hopefully, you could do it with an iPhone. Go sit at the 50-yard line, spin your camera around, and then send that off to EA. They put it in Madden. That'd be great.
Instant.
You could go anywhere.
Instant content right there. It's crazy. That would be awesome.
That'd be a lot of fun. This is a smaller idea. This one's free. If you play a game online, Ultimate Team or whatever, a lot of times one team is way better than the other one, and it's not really fair. I think they should just add a point spread. So if you have an Ultimate Team that's great and you play it against a guy who just got the game for Christmas, you should have a spread minus 30. Like, you have to win this game by 30 in order to get any reward from it.
That would be so helpful, dude. Oh my goodness.
It's just, that makes it fair. Like I said, that one's free. Let's see. This one's my favorite. I like this one a lot. So a lot of times with GameCube games, back in the day when we were 10, the hardest difficulty was super tough. We could never beat it. Like Mario Kart 150cc was just impossible.
And Mirror is just like slightly harder, but then by now there's no problem.
These days it's nothing at all. So those who know Madden know you have the 4 settings. You've got Rookie, Pro, All Madden. My suggestion is a 5th one. It's called All Madden. And it's just impossible to beat. Like, they do everything perfectly. They never drop a pass. They always call the right play. They always blitz at the right time. It's just literally impossible for a human to beat. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. In NCAA, they had something almost similar to that. It was called like the Impossible Challenge or something.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not even to the level that you're going with it, so.
It was kind of impossible because they just had the best players.
Yeah.
But it was a beatable team. Like, you would beat them, and then you'd win something. But I'm saying, don't even allow the opportunity for a human to win. Like, no human should ever be able to beat this.
Yeah.
So you just go in, you get destroyed, and it's just kind of fun. And maybe you make an intermediate, like 1.5 All Madden or something. That way you have a prayer of winning, but it's still really tough. All right, here's another one. In-game wagers in Ultimate Team. So in Ultimate Team, you have a bunch of coins. You do these challenges. It doesn't even have to be an Ultimate Team, but there should be a way where you say, if it's, 2nd and 10 from the 50-yard line, you should be able to say, hey, I bet I score a touchdown on this play. And then it'll give you some sort of reward that matches up with how hard it is what you're saying you're going to do.
Dude.
So, if you're on your own one, you say, I'm going to score a touchdown. They'll be like, okay, we will give you 1,000,000 coins if you pull this off. If you say, I'm going to gain a yard, they'll say, cool, we'll give you like a coin for that because it's not very hard. But you should just be able to make little wagers. Bet on yourself in these games.
These are incredible, man.
Yep.
You've put some time into this. They need to hire you for sure.
Well, because we remember you play all these solo challenges, and it's just boring. You know? Just because you have to get through them just to get the coins. This would spice it up.
Oh, yeah.
You have fun as you're doing it. So that'd be a good one.
Man.
All right, last one. This, I think, already existed in NFL 2K5. It's an AI team that plays with your style.
Yeah.
I think that's totally possible, especially if you play for a long time. They can kind of figure out your tendencies.
Yep.
And then you could play against yourself. So you see kind of what your weaknesses are. They call plays similar to you. They, roll out of the pocket the same way. They just do all the same stuff. And then that way you can play against a computer version of yourself or, maybe your friends when they play, stuff like that. So, if I was going to play you, I could play the computer Brandon to prep for playing you. Or you could play the computer Dillon or whatever, and maybe you make them play each other and see which one would win. I think there's a lot of potential with that.
Computer Brandon, let me just tell you right now, we would be running some of the wildest plays.
The playbook would be every play in the game. There's nothing off limits.
Oh, man. What's the... as I do is there's plays where you can pass out of under center, and instead of passing, I'll just run forward and turn it into a QB sneak sometimes. And it's just the stupidest stuff that I figured out how to gain a little yards. It's just so much fun, but I agree. I would love to see that as well.
It would be weird to see a computer do that because they never do it. It's always the same stuff.
Oh yeah, it's so predictable.
Yeah.
That was very refreshing. The possibilities are endless, man.
Oh yeah.
If you guys play Madden, you're just getting excited listening to this. So, EA, here's the guy you need to hire. So, yeah, here's the guy that will lead you into the future. But we're gonna pivot a little bit. That was excellent. That was some great ideas. But we're gonna go back to Dillon and some of his high school years, starting with some Pep Assembly memories. You guys were just dominant, man.
Yep.
2016, class of 2016, I think you guys had, was it 7 total, 6 in a row?
That's right.
Okay.
7 total. 7-5, a winning record.
A winning record. Counting freshman and sophomore year is unheard of.
Yep.
So, however, I'm still a little sour about the time when you guys printed the plaque before you actually won it.
We did. Our class didn't. I think that was the administration.
Really?
Yeah, because they gave it to us afterward, kind of as the trophy. So we didn't know that even existed until we won. But they just had a good feeling we'd win, and I can't blame them.
I'm calling a little home cooking on that one. I think that might be.
It's not on us. We just showed up and did what we always do.
Yeah.
They had it ready to go.
Is it true that John Nolan showed up at 4 a.m. one time to start setting up for those?
It wouldn't shock me at all. No, I didn't know that specifically, but I absolutely believe it.
Oh, this man. Just the spirit inside of him led you guys. And I don't know. I don't think we really had that much in our class. So my class, we won 2 Pep Assemblies ever. One of them, I was sick, and I missed it, and I couldn't go. I remember walking into the gym and hearing how loud it was and turning right back around and leaving because I had such a bad headache. But yeah, it was tough. I did get the one win my senior year. I think it was first trimester or however they do it. First one of senior year, we got that one. And then I think there was a scandal that we lost, and then we lost again. So I don't know. But
excuses.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It was just frustrating. But yeah, dominant, man. Dominant. You got to give it up to him. So then also we're going to talk about you guys' football team, obviously state runner-ups. There's always the memory I have is when you were telling me that the moment you realized you guys were insanely good is when you guys had a week of practice where you were just not necessarily locked in a bunch, kind of messing around a little bit. Mm-hmm. And what was it, the locker room before you guys were just kind of messing around or whatever?
That's right. Yeah, we had a strong start to the year. Nobody expected anything out of us. We were unranked, coming off a 3-8 year.
Ooh.
It was just nobody really expected anything, and so we won against Iowa City West by 3, close game. People thought that was a solid upset. The week after, we played Wash, who was number 4 in the state at the time. Beat them by 4.
Let's go.
Another close win. Those were probably our 2 closest games all year. Then the week after, it was our homecoming week. We played North Scott at home. And yeah, we were not very focused leading into the game. The warm-ups, it just didn't feel like we were about to play a game.
Wow.
Because we had these 2 big wins, and so we're thinking we're really good, and we show up this isn't West, it's not Wash, it's just North Scott. We're gonna be fine. And then I remember our coaches kind of rounded everyone up, and they said exactly what I just said. They're like, you are not ready to go right now. It does not feel like we're going to play a game here. Just flip a switch. You got to figure this thing out. And that's exactly what we did. We just like, okay, yep, you're right. We got to go out there and take this serious. And then we got off to a fast start and we won 42-0. So, yeah, I mean, that was when I knew, like, we have the talent. We can just kind of show up, flip a switch, just kind of get serious at the last second, and still beat a team that beat us last year, by the way. We can beat them 42-0. Like, that's hard to do. So that's absolutely the moment I knew we were going to be pretty good.
You're just built different at that point, that you guys, because that's like, if you just listen to the beginning of that story and you hear like, oh, coming off of big wins, going into a like no name opponent or whatever, that's just like game. It was a recipe for
classic
just like
trap game.
Iowa versus Purdue all over again.
That's the game Iowa loses every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you guys just locked in and you took them where you needed to go, and man, that's yeah. So you knew at that point that like, all right, we're for real. We make it all the way to the state championship game. What do you remember, just like the atmosphere, just like being on the field, like going and blocking against Dowling guys and like running routes and stuff? It's just like, take me through what felt different and like how crazy was that?
Yeah, so I think I'm one of the few people on the team that can actually say this, but I felt like I played better against Dowling than Bettendorf the week before. I don't know why, but I felt like I had a better game against those corners. It might have been that, you know, the game was kind of out of hand pretty quick, so I don't know about that. But as far as what was different, I don't know. It wasn't the game exactly. It was just the way we approached it, just kind of the way we felt about it. It just felt like the stakes were a million times higher. You know, this wasn't week 5 at Kingston anymore.
Yeah.
It was at the Dome. We played in the Dome the week before in the semis against Bettendorf. But, yeah, I mean, we knew Dowling was completely different than any team we'd ever played. I mean, just looking at them, they're massive. Nobody plays both ways. Like, if you're a running back at Dowling, you're just a running back. You're never going to play defense. If you're a receiver, you're a receiver. You don't play corner also. They had like 100 guys on their sideline. So many college players. I mean, it's just, yeah, everything about their team was different. And, you know, it was weird because we were kind of in a rhythm playing on Fridays. We thought we were going to play that game on a Friday, but it was snowing so much. It snowed like 8 or 10 inches, something crazy. And so they postponed the game from a Friday to a Monday. So it kind of felt weird. You know, we had to find a place to practice indoors for a few days on the weekend. And then we show up on a Monday night. You know, we had school the next day. It was Thanksgiving week. We used to get those days off.
Yeah.
Everything about it was just weird. You know, the opponent, the place we played, the fact that it's a Monday night. I don't know. It's one I bet we wish we could have back, but yeah, everything about it was different.
Man, still one of the coolest I would imagine experiences though. Just being in the Dome, the crowd and the rowdiness and the support. I don't know. It's just that's insane.
Awesome.
Yeah,
the whole year.
Yep. So high school wraps up for young Dillon, and we move forward. Dillon goes off, a big man on campus. He goes down to the University of Iowa. And your major was business analytics, and I think that going into it, you were business analytics, but then you kind of took some things upon yourself to kind of venture off into AI and the world of programming, because it seems like most business analytics majors don't learn the things that you kind of took yourself into, and I'm wondering when did you start kind of venturing off of the path?
Right. I would say around sophomore year in the summer. It's weird because with AI and analytics, it's also new. I mean, this isn't like finance that's been around forever. It's not, you know, being a doctor. Like, people were doctors 100 years ago. Nobody was a data scientist 100 years ago. Nobody was a machine learning engineer. So, you know, when I got into analytics, it's kind of what I thought what I'm doing right now would be. Right? Like, because people would give these pitches of like, oh, we're going to look at every shot that Kobe Bryant's ever took, and we're going to predict like which ones are going to go in, which ones aren't. That's what I really liked, was the predicting. You know,
Yeah.
here's what we know. Here's what's happened in the past. Predict what's about to happen. And with analytics, it was kind of more describe why something's happening. Like, why is this happening? And then go convince someone of it. So yeah, I did kind of take a little detour into AI, which is more of take this data, predict what's about to happen. Don't really explain it to anyone. Well, you do want to explain it to people, but you know, you're not really making PowerPoints of like, here's why we should take this approach.
Yeah.
It's train a model, run the model, and then if it succeeds, it's going to be because it's good, you know, not because you're good at convincing someone of something. So yeah, AI was just kind of more up my alley. And I started learning programming and all sorts of AI just kind of off to the side on my own, and got an internship at Collins Aerospace on the AI team. Came back to work full time, and been there about 3 years now.
That's crazy, man. That's well done. You gotta
you.
gotta respect that. Just recognizing a path that's like more suited towards you, and you just going for it, man. You just took it upon yourself, and that's a great self-recognition there.
Have to.
You got to, man.
Why not? Yeah.
What else is there to do? So, I feel like the first time I got into programming anyways was freshman year of college. And I'm assuming that was like same for you, kind of like the first programming experience you ever had was in college, like not even thought of in high school, right?
That's exactly. I know where you're going with this. That's right. Yeah. First exposure was college.
And I think that that's just
it's criminal.
It's so late into the game that we're like introducing that. I'm hoping going forward that's going to be changed and they'll bring it much sooner because Dillon and I always talk about this and how I think Spanish in high school is great to a certain extent. You know, it's going to be one of the most common, it's like second most common language in U.S. probably. But the rate at which you forget and just like don't apply that, it makes me think that like, I don't know, it's just, there's so many different ways that you could learn Spanish at a different time if you felt that was something you needed in the future. But if we just took programming languages and just like had a course, like a structure in high school with like Python or R or Java or whatever, and just like had that same type of path that foreign languages had, I feel like that would just be a great implementation. And I'm sure you have the same agreement there.
Yeah, I mean, awareness is kind of the main thing for me. I've always been pretty good at math. You know, it's always my best subject. I'm, as you said, I played with Legos. I like to build things.
Yep.
Kind of a tech-related guy. We're talking about video games here. Nobody ever told me until I was in college, like, hey, you might want to be a programmer. I think that's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, people say like, oh, engineering or business or whatever, but the fact that I had never written a line of code until I was at least 18, I think it's just terrible. And like, yeah, you mentioned replacing Spanish. I don't know if we have to replace it.
Yeah.
I'd be on board, but that would be hard to convince people of.
Oh, for sure.
At least get it in the system. Like say, hey, you can take Spanish or you can take a programming language. I think that would be, it's just way more practical. I think it's kind of embarrassing. Like as a country, we should be embarrassed that programming and stuff like that is not in the curriculum, you know?
United States, what are we doing?
What are we doing? It's not good, right? Because you take music throughout elementary school and middle school. You have to take art. I mean, do you know any professional musicians or artists? I don't think I do.
I know some people that have like a little band on the side as just like a little fun, but no, not their main thing.
No. And so one of the complaints you always hear about in school is like, okay, why am I learning this? I'm never going to use this. Why are you teaching it to me? Programming, you could say, hey, you could go be a programmer. Here's why you're learning this. You could go do this for a living. So yeah, I think it's a very practical move to just introduce it. And you don't have to get rid of anything else. Like there can be a Spanish club, there can be a Spanish class still.
Yeah.
Art, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of programming jobs. It's very in demand. I think it's just embarrassing that it's not pushed more.
Yeah.
I think it should be.
I completely agree. And I think we're still kind of early on into the career paths and the possibilities that would allow you to have. So I'm assuming in the future we'll definitely see that more. But
I hope. You might be a little more optimistic than I am on that, but
yeah,
I hope you're right.
Me too, man. It's tough, but all right. We have a few other things we want to get to, and then we're gonna wrap it up here. But there's two people that you talk to me about frequently that just seem like they could fit the role of most interesting man in the world, like the old commercials back in the day. First one I'll talk about is Matt Bognar. You're always talking about he went into a degree in one thing, but then he's like actually considers himself to be better at something else. I'm just give me your elevator pitch on Matt Bognar here.
Well, you're right. I went to talk to him one day, and he was my statistics professor, PhD in statistics, and he just casually drops in a sentence. He's like, I'm actually more of a computer science guy. I'm like, really? You're a PhD in stats, and you're just casually better at computer science? Like, how does that happen? So, yeah, I mean, just unbelievable amount of skill he has. He wrote the textbook for the class I took with him.
Legend.
Like, it's his. He teaches from it. The homework is in there. Study guides are in there. Everything you want is in there. And the thing about him that I really like the most is everything that you need to know is in that book and is taught in that class.
Oh.
Like, a lot of times when you take a test, you look at a question and you're like, okay, I went to every class. I read everything I was supposed to read. I paid attention. This question should not be on this test. Like, they never covered anything close to the material I need to know for this test. Like, if I took this test and went back through all the material, you couldn't show me where this was covered, but it's on the test somehow.
Oh, yeah.
That never happened with Matt Bognar's class. Everything you need to know was in the material.
It sounds like such a simple request, but you would be surprised.
You'd be shocked. It's rare. If I was a teacher, that's the first thing I would do. I would say, hey, after every test, I'm going to show you. Like, I'm going to print this out. I'm going to tell you, number 1, you would have learned that here in lecture 1. Number 2, this was covered in this reading. Just to prove, like, hey, this question's on here for a reason. I'm not making this up. Like, there's a reason I asked you this, and there's a reason you should have known this. But yeah, that's super rare to see. But with Bognar, that never happened. It's very straightforward. He's got a great command of the class. It's all very methodical. Like, I'm going to teach you this, then I'm going to test you on it. 1 for 1, it's perfect. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. It took a lot of studying, but, I think that's all you can ask is that you're taught what you're being tested on. Again, it sounds so obvious, but I think he nailed it.
In a perfect world, yeah.
In a perfect world, that would always happen, but it doesn't.
Oh, my goodness. So, obviously, Collins Aerospace hired you on. I actually got to meet this man, so I don't have to listen to I don't have to take your word for it. I've seen him a little bit in action, but the man, the myth, the legend, Joseph Engler. I came into, I think I've been twice. One time I was actually in Tippy Tech. One time I just kind of found my way into the meeting at Tippy Tech. But yeah, Joseph Engler, interesting man. He's done a lot of things in his life, and let's hear what you have to say. What makes him, like, what has he done that's like you just so strange and interesting and cool?
Yeah, well, so I've worked with him a little over 3 years now. He's been at Collins the whole time I have. And I think it really sucks with COVID. I haven't really worked with him in person since 2020. I mean, we're all remote now, so barely hear from him anymore. But yeah, in 2019, I was an intern. We were all in person. And just every time I would learn something about him, it just completely threw me off. Like, he loves artificial intelligence, which is a very, like, techie computer thing. But then he also says, like, oh, I used to be a woodworker. I'm like, okay, that doesn't really fit the mold. And then he says, okay, for a year, I got rid of electricity in my house. Just went without it. I'm like, why? He just didn't feel like paying it. So I was like, why did you get it back? He's like, well, it was summertime and my wife wanted AC. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. All right. And then he was also a prison guard for a while, and just, I don't know, just like you said, it's most interesting man. Every time you learn something, it's like, I would have guessed the opposite. That makes no sense to me.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, he is the leader of our AI team. He's always coming up with new stuff, and so yeah, great guy to work with.
Just sounds like a cartoon character or something that's like in the
needs a movie about it.
Yeah,
like,
oh my
documentary
dude,
for sure.
Get a film crew with this man, but
It would be entertaining.
Yeah,
for sure.
you just gotta appreciate when you're around those people that just like open your eyes and just like show you some crazy experiences. That's just incredible. Mm-hmm. Before we go, I'm gonna once again insert my unrequested opinion into this. Crypto. Bitcoin and stuff. Now listen, Dillon hasn't gotten into crypto yet, is my understanding, but I kind of it's kind of worked out for him somehow, because when I first tried to convince young Dillon to get into crypto, we were kind of near the top. We were at like Bitcoin was like 40K around there. I remember the night I came to your place and it was Chargers versus Chiefs we were watching. We were like, all right, fine, we'll get you some crypto. You agreed.
Yeah,
we go.
I was going to buy it. I was all set. I was ready to go.
We go on Gemini, which is like my favorite exchange, the one I know the best. Gemini is doing like scheduled maintenance at like the 1 hour period that we decide to go on. I was like, oh, the Winklevoss twins. No, you just lost some.
Winklevi.
Yeah. But ever since that night, it seems like a better and better decision to not invest in Bitcoin, because it's gone down probably gone down 50% since then. But eventually, I think you'll have to get yourself in there.
My procrastination's paying off so far.
Okay, dude.
I don't know. I just never got around to it. And it's always gone down. So
Yeah.
I'm not rushing to get into it at the moment.
That's right. We're in a tough time. A lot of inflation and other factors going on. We've had crypto exchanges go default and run out of money, and things are going crazy. But over the long term, we'll be back, I promise you. So last thing before we go, your ping pong project that you're working on.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to enlighten the audience on how it's going, where you're at right now, and where do you think it'll be eventually?
Well, it's kind of done at the moment. What I did was, it could be improved for sure, but basically what I did was I would take a video of a ping pong game where kind of the table's in the middle, you got the two players on each side, and I just created a little AI referee. So it would look at the video of the game and just keep score of who was winning. So kind of the way I did it, without getting too into the weeds, was I would look at the difference between two consecutive frames, which kind of shows you the movement. So the background's always going to stay the same, but things that are moving are different from frame to frame. So that kind of gave me an easy way of figuring out where the ball was, because the ball is always moving. And so once you can track where the ball is, you can kind of use that to figure out everything else. You can see when the ball goes down and then comes back up, okay, it bounced. When it's going right and then it goes left, somebody hit it, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I mean, once you have the ball location, you can figure out everything else that you need to officiate the game. And so, yeah, I have a little demo of it on my GitHub where it's got a video of the two of us playing, and it counts the hits, it shows where the ball is, shows where the table is, it's got the score.
And of course, the demo is me losing to Dillon in the end.
That's right, yeah.
Otherwise,
well, I just picked the first one. That was the first point. And so I think if I picked a random point, I would probably still win. But
this man.
Yeah. I got to make myself look good on that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're very thankful to have you on, sir. Yes. Is there any place you want to direct the people to go follow you on social media, or plug the GitHub or anything? Is there anything you want to promote before we let you go?
Yeah, github.com/Dillon Koch.
There it is.
Include the link on your description or something.
I will do that, guys. Look in the description. You will get to go see the GitHub of this man. Some great intelligence in there. Huge shout out to my brother Dillon for coming on the pod. He was a great guest. A lot of interesting insight to provide to all of us with his artificial intelligence ideas and personal memories and everything. So we're very glad to have him. Hopefully he'll be back on again in the future. But you know what time it is, guys. We got to find out what's cooking in each category. Starting off, as always, with sports. What's cooking in sports? This one caught me by surprise. We've been hearing a lot this NFL offseason about Jimmy Garoppolo possibly being traded, possibly being dealt to a different team. We heard the Seahawks were in the discussion, even though they're a division opponent. In the end, the 49ers signed Jimmy Garoppolo back to the team on a 1-year deal. However, they made it clear that Trey Lance will be the starting quarterback. So not only are they keeping Jimmy G, but he's going to be on the bench this year. And that's going to bring forward a lot of discussion in the locker room, in the media. What if Trey Lance comes out and starts laying an egg and they don't do what they're supposed to do? The offense can't move the ball. They're underperforming. You're going to be hearing some chirping. You're going to be hearing some rumors. Maybe Jimmy G is going to be inserted back in. It's going to be hanging over Trey Lance's head. I don't know if I like this move, guys, for chemistry purposes. I would like to have my quarterback have a clear head and a clear focus and no distractions behind him. We're going to see if Jimmy G can really take this role on and be a supportive backup, but I think he's hungry to be a starter in this league. I think there's teams right now, you look at the Texans with Davis Mills, I'm pretty sure Jimmy G would be an upgrade there. You look at the Seahawks with Geno Smith, I'm pretty sure Jimmy G is an upgrade there, even though they just turned it down. So this is interesting, guys. You haven't really heard of another example like this in recent memory, at least I don't recall. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this one as the season goes forward. Trey Lance, starting for now, but if he slips up, we'll see how long the leash is down there in San Francisco. In other news, Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders, they drafted in 2021, their first-round pick was an offensive tackle, Alex Leatherwood, from Alabama, I believe. And they said at the time, a lot of the draft experts were saying at the time, this is kind of a reach. They could have got him later. They could have got somebody else at that spot that could have helped him more. Turns out the scouts might have been right. The draft experts might have been right, guys. The Raiders, with their new coach, Josh McDaniels, this year, they just cut first-round pick from last year, Alex Leatherwood. That's crazy. That is not wasting any time. That, I don't know, man. That you want to give a guy a chance in the league. You want to give him a few years to develop, but they just cut the strings on this one right away. Took the L, move on. So very interesting. They're getting memed on Twitter, the Raiders. It's gonna be tough to overcome that, I think. But I think Raiders are moving in a different direction now. Obviously, with Devontae Adams in the building, they're under new coaching, and they just want to shift to the future. So they're going to cut out the old and in with the new. Say what you want, but that's their decision. What's cooking in finance? When Jerome Powell steps up to the microphone, you better have a close eye on your portfolio, because whatever this man says, it has a big impact in the markets. And we saw that last Friday. Jerome Powell speaking at an event, talking about inflation, possible recession, interest rates, all that good stuff. He's talking about how the worst might not be behind us yet. He says there could be more pain ahead. The stock market heard this and it plummeted Friday. S&P 500 finishes down over 3%. You can see the exact time from when this speech was going on, from when those words were spoken. You can see the direct line heading down. It looked like a slide. So it's pretty crazy. I feel like this is a little bit of an overreaction. I feel like we've kind of known this for a while, that things are going to be tough. Even up until the end of 2022, we're not very much in a good spot financially. So I feel like this is sort of an overreaction if I had to put my own opinion out there, but the stock market does what it does, and you just got to be willing to fight through the ups and the downs. And like I always say, dollar cost average and hold, and you'll be fine in the long run. But if you're a day trader, if you're a short-term thinker, you might have gotten an unexpected punch to the gut last Friday, let's call it. Be on the lookout for more updates with Jerome Powell and all the stuff going down. China real estate fiasco and all that good stuff. I'm going to be updating you guys as we go in these segments in the finance portion. But for now, we move on.
What's cooking in technology?
Guys, there are certain days when you're feeling good, you're flying high, life is a dream, and you need to be humbled. And when that humbling happens, it's tough. It's tough to swallow. It's not easy, but today my spirits have been humbled and I've been brought back down to earth. And I think technology was the best place to share this story because it involves online payments and a social media platform. So I'm going to throw it in technology, but basically what happened was I was looking to purchase a ticket to an Iowa football game coming up, and I put a post out on Facebook in a Facebook group that is dedicated towards ticket sales and exchanges and everything. And I got a message from someone who was offering to sell their ticket, and I was like, okay. I look at their profile, seems like a typical person on Facebook. There's no real red flags or anything. So I'm talking with them and they decide to sell it for a certain amount. I was like, okay, that seems fair. We start messaging. I get their information and they say that they are going to transfer me the ticket. It's going to come and I will pay them the amount. So they say, all right, you can go ahead and send the transaction and I'll send the ticket right over. I said, all right, coming right up. I send my end of the deal. I said, all right, I just paid. You can send the email. And what they tell me is that their phone is having a problem and they're going to have to drive back home and do it on their PC. And I was like, oh, really? Well, why would you agree to do this right now then if it's not going to work? And they're saying, oh, no, it's okay. I'll be home. I'll be right there. I'll pay it, or not I'll pay it, but I'll transfer the ticket and everything will be all right. So I was like, oh, that's weird. So I start talking to him just to kind of like dig a little deeper and make sure that they're actually a real person. One of the people in their profile picture had a graduation cap on. So I was like, oh, is that you with the cap on? Where did you graduate from? They responded saying, that's my daughter with the graduation cap. She went to Florida Orange Juice. And I replied, I was like, Florida Orange Juice? And they said, yes. And that's the exact moment when I knew my money was gone for good. This is not a real person. They're probably using some sort of translate service to try to translate what they thought would be a legit university into English, and it came through as Florida Orange Juice, and my heart sank at that moment, and I knew that this was not a real person. This was not an authentic seller. So I continued the conversation anyways, and they kept making excuses. Oh, it's not working. I'll get it in an hour. I'll get it to you soon. I'll get it to you tonight. I keep pressing. I keep saying, where's the ticket? And they'll say, oh, I can't. This is happening. I decided to cut my losses. It's tough, man. I'm a person that works in IT. I like to think that I have a good grasp of verifying when things are real, when things are fake, and when scammers are on the loose. But sometimes you get got. Sometimes you get humbled. And I feel like you need to be able to laugh at yourself sometimes. You need to be able to make fun of the situation that goes on. You can't only share the positives in life, because that's not a realistic look into how it goes. Because there's days when you just get knocked on your back. And metaphorically, that was today for me. So, yep, I got scammed. I lost some money. And I learned a valuable lesson. And I'm going to invite you guys to be very careful on the internet, sending money with people that you're not sure of and you don't know. Please go through the verification process very carefully. And if you're on the purchasing end, do not send the money before you actually have the ticket. Lesson of the day.
What's cooking in video games?
This one's a little bit of a crossover topic here with video games. I recently, maybe it was last weekend, I was looking around on OpenSea, NFT marketplace, found a NFT project called We All Survived Death. Seemed pretty interesting. One of the creators was an admin or some sort of executive high-up person with Bored Ape Yacht Club, the most popular NFT project. So I was like, okay, this is pretty credit-worthy if they have one of the top developers working on this. I found the floor price at about 0.028, I think. Decided to buy an NFT. At this point, they hadn't been revealed yet, so it's just like a little animation. And then once like the time comes to reveal, you'll see the NFT update with the actual art. But I just bought before the art was released, and it was interesting because I'm not really into NFTs much before this point, but I want to get to learn more of it. So I felt like this is a good way to kind of dip my feet in and kind of see what it's all about. The floor price for these NFTs as it gets closer and closer to the day of release gradually increased, and I noticed quite a bit of gain from my initial purchase price. I think it went up to 0.13 ETH at the top. So that's probably about a 5x return if I decide to sell right then and there, but I held on, and it's come down since then, but I'm still holding on long term. But how this relates to video games, long story short, when you buy the NFT for We All Survive Death, you get access to their Discord. Their Discord has a channel with certain event announcements, and they do these things where they like have people join up for online poker, and like Scribblio is a fun game website. And then they also have a quiz night and stuff. So you'll be in the Discord and you can just get a random notification like, oh yeah, a bunch of us are jumping in to play this game. A bunch of us are doing this. And there's a bunch of other benefits and utility of being a holder of this project. So it really kind of opened my eyes into the utility value of NFTs. And just by owning one of these, you have so much access to different opportunities, games, people, privileges, and everything. So I think this is going to be huge in the future. I think that these are going to be much more popular and much more commonly adopted, but this is so early on. I'm just still learning at this point. So if you guys are curious, you can talk to me about it. If you're curious, I'll probably refer you to some YouTube videos that'll help you out learn more. But yeah, I decided to jump in, and I think I'm learning a lot and I'm having fun so far. So good news to end on. Guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Episode 6 was fun. We learned a lot and we got humbled all in a day's work. We're going to be back even better next week. We're going to be back to share some more experiences, and we're going to let you know what's cooking. As always, follow me on social media at what's_cooking. Come back next Wednesday for another great episode. Signing off. Have a good one. Peace.